Good afternoon and thanks for your time on Midday Brief and Joy News on Multi TV. My name is Gladys Osei Oredu. Stories making headlines. Jida has been reacting to Zoomlion and the allegation that some workers are underpaid and 400 cedis goes to management, which I'll also be bringing you live updates from the Supreme Court and some of the happenings after the proceedings. Got these wellness, showbiz, sports coming up in the next 1 hour. Stay with us. Waste management company Zoomlion Ghana Limited has distanced itself from issues pertaining to the poor salaries and employment of beneficiaries under the Youth in Sanitation module. Board member of the company, Kwame said the workers are not their staff.
These persons are not employees of Zoomlion Ghana Limited, and they are also not employees of Better Ghana Services Limited. So it is not Zoomlion or Better Ghana Services that determines how much they are paid. That is not determined by us. What we do is to make proposals to government regarding our costs for managing these projects or programs. And when our cost is approved, that is what comes to us, and it is disbursed according to the itemized expenditures. That there is no person within the Zoomlion system who is paid 100 cedis, who is our core Zoomlion employee. And these persons are about 3,000 or more.
Kwame also asserted that the workers receive what comes to them at the end of the day based on the number of hours they work. He stressed their schedule for work is not the regular 8-hour working hours.
The persons we are referring to, the participants or the beneficiaries in at least the NYEP JIDA, the sanitation module, most of them don't work in excess of 3 hours a day. So when we are talking about 100 cedis, we should contextualize it and ask ourselves, 100 cedis for how many hours? And it is not an 8-hour work day for them. The maximum for some of them is 3 hours and 4 hours maximum.
Government says it has released the first tranche of market premium areas to health workers. The payment is in fulfillment of a promise made during last month's arrest on the health front. Doctors especially had been agitating for a one-time payment of the premium on suspicion that government may not honor its 3-tranche payment arrangement of the 2012 arrears. However, Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Health, Tony Goodman, told Joy News that the payment schedule agreed with the health workers is being followed. You're watching the Midday Brief on Joy News on Multi TV. A Deputy Minister for Information, Murtala Mohammed, says President Mahama will wrap up his trip to France and continue to Japan for further meeting with investors. He outlined President Mohammed's itinerary. He said this at the daily press briefing today.
Today, His Excellency the President would be delivering a paper on the French Institute of International Affairs. It's a platform that many world leaders have used to indeed make a point. He's going to talk about the new vision. He's going to talk about the fact that the African continent is an emerging economy, if you like, regardless of the challenges. And the fact that even when we had the economic meltdown, challenges in Europe and America and Latin America, African countries were doing very well. Despite the challenges that we face, the speech is going to be on the new vision. It's going to be on the perspective and what is expected of African leaders by Africans today. And after that, he would move to Japan today for the TICAD conference.
He also touched on France's aid to Ghana.
The visit of His Excellency the President. Yesterday, you would have read in the news that he met the business community of France, and the fact that they indeed express interest, particularly the leadership of France, to invest in the energy sector. I remember yesterday here someone asked us what kind of investment we can get from France. And I did indicate that it's not only the culture and education that many people know France to be doing well. Even in the area of energy, France has some expertise, and he's more than willing. And again, Ghana is also selected as one of the 14 top priority countries for France in terms of investment. So I think that we are blessed to be recognized and selected. At least France has a lot of investment in many francophone speaking countries. And if Ghana is one of the countries that they express interest in having huge investment in, I think that we can only be happy.
The man in the middle of the controversial circulation of nude videos allegedly of President Mahama on the internet, Michael Omari Wadje, who was detained by the BNI, was released yesterday. In an interview with Joy News, he insisted he knew nothing about the videos being circulated and therefore his arrest was unfair. He spoke to Israel Lai on News at 8 yesterday night.
We've all seen it, and that does, but the fact that you have seen that picture and you admit that you have seen that picture does not make you the originator or the creator of that picture. That is what surprises me about Radio Gold, and I'm surprised people still listen to them. You can't interview me and I tell you something and you twist that thing. Have you heard them play that tape?
What did you tell them?
I told them that yes, I have seen that picture, but I'm not the originator. I'm not a cameraman. I'm not an IT person to be able to change pictures. I don't do that. Even though you and I know we did something at Gimpa where we were taught IT, but that is not the area or angle we're taught. You know, I know how to use the computer, but I don't know how to move somebody's head and put another person's image head on it.
Under what circumstances were you picked up?
Well, I arrived yesterday morning. We left London yesterday. We touched down at 5 a.m. And there and then the immigration officer asked me to follow him. He took my passport and asked me to follow him. And then he handed me to some Metro guys. And I questioned where or why they would not tell me. They only told me to follow them. I followed
these macho guys you're talking about. More. You see, better
no matter how strong you are, no matter how strong you are, if you have more than 2 people hunting or chasing you, you just have to humble yourself. And I knew that was an official. No evil could happen because it was an immigration officer, and then he handed me to those boys.
Okay, so then what happened?
Where are we going? They won't tell me. They only drove me. They put me in the car, drove me to the BNI headquarters. We went there, and what are we here for? What is the issue? They won't tell me. Until 11 a.m. when they took me to my house, and then searched my house, ransacked the whole place, and picked my laptop and then my 2 phones, old phones that I'm not using anymore. They took me back to the headquarters, and I think it was around 3 or so that they sent me to the 37 office.
At that point, had they told you why you were being held?
I told them that I came from you. I traveled. I just arrived. Somebody was supposed to even pick me at the airport. Let me tell that individual that I'm not coming out. I'm here, or this is what is happening. But they won't. Let me talk to my lawyers. They wouldn't let me talk to my lawyers.
Why would they take you to your house to search? What are they searching for?
They wouldn't even tell me what the issues were until I think it was around 10 p.m. in the evening when they took me here to their regional office. That's where they told me there's a picture about the president they are investigating. What do I know about it? I said, if that is the issue, why do you keep me all this while? You wouldn't ask me. You torment and put me in this situation, and you come asking me.
So how come they released you eventually?
Yeah, after they interviewed me in the night, the next morning, I think this morning around 11, again they called me. They came and asked the same questions. I told them what I know about the picture, that I have seen it. Yes, I've seen it before. I will not deny that, just as they have seen it. But if you have seen the picture, or you have that picture on your phone, you don't, in Ghana or wherever, you don't ask somebody to send you something before they send. So if somebody has forwarded something to me, it doesn't make me the originator. And the allegation that Radio Gold made, I told Radio Gold, check from my site. If you are saying that you have anything on my site, it is there. My Michael Omeri, there is nothing like that posted. If even I delete in today's IT, I know you can easily trace if it has been deleted. I've never posted anything like that. So why do you say I have done that? Somebody published actually a front page the original. They said the original picture that I took in Nigeria. So if I had traveled from Ghana to Nigeria, supposedly, taken a picture, a pornographic picture there, sent it to be edited in UK, how come an NDC person, somebody in Ghana, how can that person get the original and print? And you still believe and blame me and accuse me that I took that picture and I have doctored it. Meanwhile, I that took that picture, I've never seen that picture.
The National Labour Commission has dragged the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission and the Government Hospital Pharmacists Association to court in a bid to enforce its directive for the refund and restoration of conversion difference. It's also hoping the action will compel the pharmacists to return to work. The pharmacists who serve in public hospitals have been on strike for about 6 weeks over what they claim are distortions in further pensions and market premium in the new pay structure.
The counters at the hospitals where patients would usually queue with their prescriptions remain closed as the pharmacists insist on the implementation of the directive of the National Labour Commission to restore and refund the conversion difference. But both Fair Wages and GOSPA, representing the pharmacists, would have to appear before the Industrial Labour Division of the High Court to answer for their actions or inactions. Spokesperson and General Secretary for GOSPA, Ernest Owusu-Abuaje, acknowledges receipt of the motion for the two reliefs and are preparing to go to court. He adds they have already submitted their reports to the 4-member committee set up by the Ministry of Health to provide oversight responsibilities in resolving the strike.
We are preparing to file our processes. We are seeking the appropriate legal advice. We file our processes before. So then we remain on strike. We have appeared before the committee as well last week, Friday. We spent quite some time with them. We showed them the documents. We showed them the basis of our present action. We made it clear to them that we are unable to return to work unless and until the decision of the NLC at least is complied with in writing. Because whatever the committee will come up will at best be recommendations or directives. Somebody must comply with it. Somebody must respect it. So if what is existing now is not being complied with, is not being respected, why do we, as it were, return to work?
Hearing of the case has been set for June 12.
If you are an electricity consumer who has not seen any respite in the supply situation in the last few weeks, then this may not be news to you. If, however, your supply has been stable, well, it may no longer be the case, or you may probably have already noticed some change. The Ministry of Energy has announced the start of what it says is a short-term load shedding program. According to a release from the ministry, this should last 7 days, explaining that it has become necessary due to challenges relating to the availability and treatment of fuel for the optimum operations of the Volta River Authority's thermal plants. The statement, however, says all efforts are being made to restore normal power supply within the stipulated period. Consequently, the Electricity Company of Ghana, ACG, is expected to announce a load management program within the next 48 hours. Though officials are unable to say the energy deficit that has forced the current load shedding, Joy News has learned it is between 250 and 350 megawatts. On this note, I catch my breath here, and when we return, I bring you more news. Welcome back. Police in the Ashanti Regional Capital, Kumasi, have arrested 2 suspected highway robbers for allegedly seizing an articulated truck and its content of 550 bags of cocoa beans en route to Tema. Kwabna Mwako and Awudi Razak were amongst some 6 gangsters in an unregistered private car who attacked the driver and 2 others on board the truck at Shidiem in the Bonahafo region. They also robbed the victims of 690 Ghana cedis cash and 3 mobile phones. A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
The articulator truck with registration AS 416512 was heading to the Tema Harbour with cargo from Isam in the Bonahafo region. The victims, George Boache, and his colleague explained how the incident occurred.
The equanimous me drew me sang on break or rough road. Don't break I mean, bet yes, rough road is one on baby or modos and almost 30 you too. Don't to me who I'm catching Quans and Roberts and me see it. Let me so many come about 2 in the time. To me, joining an auto. or 2 and a family, and a moment to be joined out to 5 times. They toss of 5 and we bush. To be called there, we know better than 1 to him. No sign a cheap, no befa we go bush. Nobody to assume say a dear or medical no coin. So move ya, beja or one of us.
Your mom won't buy cocoon 1 bag, yes, and I'm seeing price. Almost didn't mean cocoon price, and I'm so may a driver in Timika, make a cocoa, and concourse, set the price. The honor, one boof, Timmy mate, it's make us so a 2,040,000. No, so when they mechanical
Police say the driver, George Wache, lodged a complaint about the attack at Hwidium, following which wireless messages were relayed to other police stations, checkpoints and patrol teams. On Monday, May 27th, a patrol team intercepted the articulator truck at Infensi in the Ashanti region. Kwabna Mwako and Audu Razak were arrested while their accomplice, identified as Mohammed, is on the run. ASP Mohammed Tanko is a public relations officer for the Ashanti Regional Police Command.
As soon as the information was relayed, we had enough men on the ground to be on the lookout for this vehicle. And because of their proactiveness and their good sense of duty, we managed to arrest them. So we are calling on owners of trucks, drivers, and also those who engage them to be wary, because 500 bags of cocoa is not a small amount. It's not, there's a lot of money involved in this. And if these guys have succeeded, you can imagine how much they would have gained.
We go over now to live report from the Supreme Court correspondents for an update on the election petition. And I have my colleague Annie Osabute on phone. Hello, Annie.
Hi, good afternoon, Gladys.
Good afternoon, Annie, and thanks for joining us. What happened in court today?
Well, yesterday the petitioners started their cross-examination of the NDC's Johnson Asset Inketia, and today has been the same process. But one thing, something interesting came up. Tachu Chikata rose to his feet to object to question that Mr. Addison, who is the counsel for the petitioner, and it has to do with the fact and better particularly he wanted Mr. Addison to identify some few figures and some information on it, but he rose to his feet. So I think in the process of, because the point is that before we serve the documents to the witness in a box, you show it to the lawyer for them to just go through and authenticate it before it can be tendered to their witness. But, it appears when the document came over to Mr. Tunlisa, it flipped the document, kind of threw it off. And I think it didn't really go down well with the rest of the judges, especially Bafuboni, for example, expressed strongest reservation. I mean, for those of us in the room, though the cameras don't capture the facial expressions of the judges, but you could tell that they were completely unhappy about that. And Bafuboni reminded Mr. Tanlita, who is the counsel for the president, that what is done is a disrespect to the court and to the judges.
Hello, Annie. It looks like where you stand, then there's a bit of feedback. If you could stand well for us at a different, change your position, please.
Is it okay now?
Yes, it's okay now.
Good. So I was explaining that. I mean, so if you call Bafuboni went ahead to explain to Mr. Tanlita that is why even when a question is put to a witness, it does not refer to the lawyer who has asked him the question, but it refers to the judges as my lord, and therefore, they expect that they'll put in some of these, they'll be very, their conduct before the court will sort of speak well of them as counsel before them. But like I said, I think it has been responding to questions. So far, the petitioners have taken it through more than 20 unidentified polling stations, believe some form of more practice or electoral irregularities did go on. So Philip Addison was in the process of doing that when, as always, between 12:30, the lawyers go into their chambers and take their lunch break, like Atiku said, and then come back for the cross-examination to continue. So far, there have been 2 objections. Nothing really significant has happened apart from the fact that Mr. Tony Lita has come a bit of a fire, but that's notwithstanding. I won't go back to proceedings. I've spoken to lawyers from both sides earlier on, and well, they are, depending on where you stand, they think that, they are doing a good job. But like we always said, the judges will have the final say.
And there are reports that Tony Lita looked angry. Is that true?
Well, of course. Obviously, it could not be. If you could tell by the fact that he was angry because he flipped the papers off, yes. And so maybe for those watching television, because we were sitting behind them, so we could not have the benefits of the doubt of seeing the expression on his face. But I could tell that the fact that he threw off the sheet tells you that for the documents that he was pretty much unhappy about that. You recall that Philip Addison reminded him that you are one person who continues to insist on respect in the courtroom, and yet you have not behaved in that inappropriate manner. But he had to rise to his feet and apologize to the judges and the rest of the court. And then proceedings went on. But, equally to them, kind of a very interesting persons who have been going in and out of the court. For example, the former chief of staff of the New Patriotic Party and the president of Kojan PNU as well, was today in court. He was here initially, but, it just kind of went off a bit. And it came, Lieutenant is also here. And other leading figures from the various political parties are here to support their respective candidates or their respective friends from their political parties.
All right, Annie, thank you so much for that update from the Supreme Court concerning today's sittings. We catch our breath here, and when we return, we have more news for you. Next, we have wellness. Boils and carbuncles are skin infections usually caused by Staphylococcus aureus bacteria staph. These staph infections form pockets in the skin that are filled with pus, a fluid that includes bacteria, dead skin cells, and infection-fighting blood cells. Whether the pocket of pus is called a boil or a carbuncle depends on its location and size. Let's learn more about the staph bacteria.
A boil, also called a furuncle, begins as a painful infection of a single hair follicle. Boils can grow to be larger than a golf ball, but they commonly occur on the buttocks, face, neck, armpit, and groin. A carbuncle is a deeper skin infection that involves a group of infected hair follicles in one skin location. Carbuncles are often found on the back of the neck, shoulders, hips, and thighs, and they are especially common in middle-aged or elderly men. People with diabetes are more likely to develop carbuncles. A boil looks like a red, swollen, painful bump under the skin. As the infection gets worse, a whitish tip, also called a point or head, can appear at the center of the ball. This tip is usually the area from which the boil's pus will drain.
Normally, everybody
like a cluster of
has bacteria growing
boils
on their skin. In fact, the mouth is one of the dirtiest places, and urine is one of the most sterile. Sometimes, during periods of low immunity and stress, what happens is the bacteria start multiplying excessively because our immune system does not keep them in check. Yeah? That is when we get boils.
Whenever you have a boil or a carbuncle, you also can have a fever and feel generally sick. A fever is more likely with a carbuncle than with a single boil. Your doctor can diagnose a boil or carbuncle by examining your skin. If you get several boils within a short period of time, your doctor may do blood tests to check for diabetes or other medical conditions that can increase your risk of repeated infections. In many otherwise healthy people, a small boil will form a white tip or come to the head and drain within 5 to 7 days. However, very large boils or carbuncles can last longer and may not drain on their own. These may need to be drained by a physician, and you may need to take antibiotics. If you have an area of skin that is prone to boils or carbuncles, keep the area clean and dry, and avoid wearing tight clothes that doesn't allow the skin to breathe. Washing daily with antibacterial soap can also help. At the earliest sign of irritation or a bump at a hair follicle, use warm compressors to open up the blocked pore and drain any early infection. Small boils can be treated with moist heat, usually a warm wet washcloth, applied for 20 to 30 minutes, 3 or 4 times a day. This will help the boil drain on its own. Once the boil drains, cover it with a clean bandage to protect the skin and absorb draining pus. Wash the affected area daily with antibacterial soap to prevent the infection from spreading. Anyone who helps care for the infected area should also wash his or her hands thoroughly with antibacterial soap. Large boils and carbuncles may be treated with antibiotics. In many cases, the doctor will drain the infected area through a small incision. This will relieve pain, speed recovery, and limit scar formation. If the infection is completely drained, antibiotics may not be necessary. If the infection is deep, your doctor may fill the empty pocket that contain the pus with a strip of piece of sterile gauze. The gauze can keep the incision open, which will allow pus to continue to drain. The pocket can then heal slowly, becoming more shallow over time until it is a superficial wound. You may need to return to the doctor a few times to have the gauze and dressing changed. Call your doctor whenever you have a carbuncle, a large boil, or a boil that doesn't improve after a week of warm compress treatment, as described earlier. If you have diabetes, you should call your doctor even if you develop a small boil, because you are more prone to developing serious infections. Most small boils heal without leaving a scar. In general, the larger the boil or carbuncle, the greater the chance that it will leave a scar. Because of this, you should see a doctor if you have a boil on your face. Antibiotic treatment and surgical drainage can help limit scar formation.
If you felt the way I did in here, apologies, but that was a well education there about bells. Up next, we have sports. Ghana's midfielder Wakaso might move to Juventus as the Italian giants have made a €7 million bid to sign Mubarak Wakaso from Espanyol this summer. Meanwhile, Martinez has been given permission to leave Wigan and will now hold talks with Everton.
Italian giants Juventus have made a €7 million bid to sign Ghana midfielder Mubarak Wakaso from Espanyol this summer. The Serie A champions thus join the likes of Inter Milan, Valencia, Everton and a host of clubs who are after the signature of the talented Ghanaian youngster. According to Turin-based Toto Sports, the Bianconeri are very confident that they will be able to land the Ghanaian, who is currently on international assignment. The paper further stated that Juventus have been monitoring the exploits of the former Elche and Villarreal player since the African Cup of Nations in South Africa. Wakaso, 23, has been the revelation in the setup of coach Javier Aguirre since moving to the Barcelona club last summer, and he played 24 times, scoring thrice in the just-ended league season. Real Madrid wants to make Cristiano Ronaldo the best paid player in the world as they look to build the club's future around him. The Portugal forward, 28, has been linked with a summer return to Manchester United or a move to Chelsea. Ronaldo became the world's most expensive player when he signed for Real Madrid from Manchester United for £80 million in June 2009. He has scored 55 goals in 55 games in all competitions this season, having reached the 200 mark overall for Real Madrid earlier this month. Ronaldo said in January that he would see out his current contract, which expires in 2015, but wasn't sure where his career would take him after that. Roberto Martinez has been given permission to leave Wigan and will now hold talks with Everton about succeeding David Moyes. The 39-year-old Spaniard led the Lactics to a historic FA Cup triumph this season, but could not prevent their relegation from the Premier League. Wigan chairman Dave Whelan said Everton contacted him last Friday to ask for talks with Martinez. Whelan told BBC Radio 5 Live on Tuesday that Roberto has resigned. However, Wigan later released a statement saying Martinez remained their manager but had been given permission to talk to another club. Whelan also said Martinez had 12 months left on his contract, so whoever comes in for him must pay the remainder of his contract.
In international breaks, Kenyan members of parliament, already among the world's best paid legislators, have voted to increase their salaries, and our cargo train crashed into a trash cart, causing an explosion that rattled homes at least a half-kilometer away and collapsed nearby buildings. And deadly U.S. drone strike in Waziristan.
Kenyan members of parliament, already among the world's best paid legislators, have voted to increase their salaries. The legislators passed a vote on Monday, increasing their pay to more than 130 times the minimum wage in defiance of government plans to reduce them as part of spending reforms. President Uhuru Kenyatta, who won a closely fought March 4 election on an economic growth agenda, has urged MPs to accept pay cuts and help rein in public sector salaries to free up cash to create jobs. Many Kenyans view members of parliament as symbols of a greedy political culture, and they recently held a protest in the capital, Nairobi, unleashing pigs on the premises of parliament to demonstrate the opposition to the pay rise. In Monday's vote, legislators on both sides of the House overwhelmingly pushed for higher pay. At least 4 people were killed when a U.S. drone fired 2 missiles in the volatile Pakistani region of North Waziristan. They said the missiles hit a house close to the town of Miranshah. The strike comes a week after President Barack Obama issued new guidelines for tighter scrutiny of the drone program and stricter targeting rules. U.S. drone strikes are a major point of contention in Pakistan and represented a key issue in its recent elections. Reports say a Pakistani Foreign Ministry official condemned the strike as a breach of sovereignty. Fire officials in the U.S. state of Maryland say a cargo train crashed into a trash truck, causing an explosion that rattled homes at least a half-kilometer away and collapsed nearby buildings. The crash near Baltimore on Tuesday also set buildings on fire and caused 51 cars of the train to derail. The cause of the explosion is being investigated, and emergency crews and hazardous materials specialists are at the scene. Myanmar's government has called for calm after mobs burned down a Muslim orphanage, a mosque and shops during a new eruption of religious violence in the northeastern Shan state. Authorities imposed a curfew late on Tuesday in Lashio, about 700 kilometers northeast of Yangon, after a mob of 200 local residents surrounded a local police station, demanding they hand over a Muslim detainee. Lashio police said Newin, 48, a Muslim from a nearby township, was arrested after allegedly setting fire to Win, 24, a Sham Buddhist, earlier in the day after the two had an altercation at a petrol station. The woman was admitted to hospital.
In showbiz, how many of you remember the gospel duo Tego sisters? Well, they've been off the scene for a while now, but the two say they are cooking something new for their fans. Showbiz caught up with them at the celebration of Grace Norte, and we shall also be bringing you the last video of Goldie of Big Brother fame and Nigeria's songstress, the last video she had before her untimely death.
After about 3 decades in the music industry, the siblings, Lydia and Elizabeth, in 2011 took some time off to focus on their charity organization, which supports mothers and needy twins. But it appears the sisters are now ready to bounce back onto the music scene. When Showbiz caught up with them at a program to honor veteran actress Grace Naughty, the duo promised to hit the market with a new release this year.
We'll be out very soon. We are in the studio. We started a small NGO, start doing it, but by God's grace, now we have the hands now. So we are back to the studio. By end of this year, you will always hear from Jago Sisters. Very soon you hear from us, big time, by God's grace.
33 years after their debut appearance on the gospel scene, the Tego sisters have not looked back, and they continue to share their experience with people all over the world who are affected by their music in different ways.
Yeah. TK. Go to Uganda. Navio. Every kiss my beamer. Party all night, no drama. Big things pop in the place. Ladies dancing, the boys go gaga. My eyes got stuck on you. I'm the artist, you are my muse. I could be one of lights, I'm drawn to you, and all I want to is you today. Not today. Get down on it, get down on it, get down on it, get down on it, press up on it, press up on it, press up on it, press up on it.
She needs someone.
Hold me.
You like platinum, I like gold. Yeah, she's a queen, I'm an OG. I might buy the lies that she sold me. East to west, they know me. I hear you perform, show me. Her body's a crime with the police. Let's go somewhere remote, control me. When I know about love, I'm a rapper. With you wild, something I won't capture. When you smile, there's something I won't ask you. I get old school, I might fax you. With no pro tools, I might track you. Without code tools, like an actor. Look.
So that was the last video clip of Goldie featuring Navio. Before we go, the OECD has again cut its growth forecast for the Eurozone and called on the European Central Bank to consider doing more to boost growth. The organization said the Eurozone will shrink by 0.6% this year, widening the gap between it and the faster growing economies such as the US and Japan. Meanwhile, the European Commission has given France 2 more years to complete its austerity program. France fell back into recession in the first 3 months of the year. Spain, Poland, Portugal, the Netherlands, and the other country, Slovenia, have also been given more time to complete fiscal tightening. The move suggests a shift away from a focus on austerity in Europe. On that note, I end the Joy Midday Brief. These are the stories that made headlines. We crossed over to the Supreme Court for a live update on today's proceedings, and Jida reacts to corruption allegation. Thanks so much for your time. Join us again at 2 for more news updates if Supreme Court would have been done then. Until then, we cross back to the Supreme Court for proceedings.